สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีท่านแขกผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านนะคะขอต้อนรับทุกท่านค่ะได้เข้าสู่งาน Sustainability Expo 2024 ค่ะดิฉันสวัยฉัตรกุลชรนิตยาชีวแพทย์รับหน้าที่เป็นผู้ดำเนินรายการนะคะแล้วก็ตอนนี้ต้องขอต้อนรับค่ะเข้าสู่ช่วงของ SX Partnerships for the Goals TSCN Business Partner Conference 2024 นะคะสำหรับงาน Sustainability Expo นั้นเราก็มีจุดประสงค์หลักเลยนะคะในการที่จะสร้างความตระหนักรู้ถึงเรื่องของการพัฒนาอย่างยั่งยืนของสังคมวงกว้างค่ะพร้อมกันนี้ก็ยังเป็นการสร้างความร่วมมือจากทุกภาคส่วนให้เกิดขึ้นอย่างต่อเนื่องนะคะทั้งนี้ค่ะก็เกิดขึ้นมาจากการที่เรายึดหลักในการจัดงานนะคะนั่นก็คือ sufficiency for sustainability หรือว่าพอเพียงยั่งยืนเพื่อโลกโดยมีจุดหมายหลักเลยก็คือการสร้างสมดุลที่ดีเพื่อโลกที่ดีกว่า good balance better world ค่ะ Good morning distinguished guests ladies and gentlemen I'd like to welcome all of you to Sustainability Expo 2024 in this special session of SX Partnerships for the Goals TSCN Business Partner Conference 2024สำหรับงาน TSCN Business Partner Conference 2024 ในวันนี้นะคะจัดโดยเครือข่ายธุรกิจห่วงโซ่อุปทานแห่งประเทศไทยค่ะหรือ TSCN ที่มุ่งมั่นในการที่จะดำเนินธุรกิจนะคะอย่างมีจริยธรรมพร้อมกันนี้สร้างความยั่งยืนไปกับการเคารพผู้ที่มีส่วนได้ส่วนเสียทุกฝ่ายตลอดการทำธุรกิจทั้งห่วงโซ่คุณค่านะคะและก็ที่เพิ่งจบไปนั้นก็เป็นวิดีทัศน์สำคัญเกี่ยวกับไฮไลท์ของ TSCN ประจำปี 2024 ค่ะแต่ว่าช่วงเวลาต่อจากนี้ไปนะคะก็คือการเข้าสู่ช่วงไฮไลท์เลยค่ะก็คือ CEO Panel Sustainable Hospitality and Mobility นะคะ Next ladies and gentlemen we will meet CEO who are role models of sustainability through a variety of businesses and experiences in the form of panel discussion CEO Panel Sustainable Hospitality and Mobility so please give a warm welcome to คุณปนต สิริวัฒนภักดี CEO of Fraser's Property Our first speaker And next, please welcome Mr. Tony Fernandez, CEO of AirAsia. สวัสดีค่ะ Please have a seat. I'm very honored to be here today and thank you for joining us as well, Kun Tony. Now, since both of you are considered as role models for sustainability businesses. So what does sustainability means to both of you and how is it important to your businesses? So let's start with Kun Pandot.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here today, right? And if I lens through ESG as sustainability is the bedrock of the foundation of the organization we push forward to and it's part of collective role of ESG.It's part of environmental, social, and governance. And in those parts, I like the terminology that we had the discussion through Sustainability Expo session as well, that the governor of Bangkok mentioning to his term of ESG that resonate to me is how we are not using the future resource of the future generation and how we be more cognizant over the lens how we consume. So to those in real estate and hospitality, it's related to part of what affects to the environmental impact. We contribute to 40% of the impact of carbon, and if it's a city development, we contribute to over almost 60%. So the role and responsibility of me in journey through our investment in physical asset and operation has been important part of how to shape ourselves to sustainability goals.
So you can say that sustainability is the fundamental of your business for a sustainable future. What about you, Kun Tony?
Morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. What an amazing place. And can I just make sure, so that AirAsia is sustainable, make sure everyone here flies only on AirAsia.From now on, okay. Otherwise, we won't be sustainable. What is sustainability? I mean, for me, obviously, it's making sure that we have a long-term goals. And in terms of the AirAsia itself, number one was to sustain ourselves after COVID. We went through 5 very tough years during COVID, and for us it was keeping our business alive. No point talking about sustainability if we don't sustain ourselves. But obviously in this day and age, people are talking about making sure we utilize our resources in the right way. Aviation contributes about 3% of carbon emissions right now. And while that's probably smaller than what most people think, it's a very visible industry. And so, we want to try and do our bit to make sure that, I think the most important thing for us is to educate our flying public. 90 million people fly on AirAsia, and that is a lot of people. And so one of the most important things we can do in terms of sustainability is educating the public what sustainability is all about, how much carbon they burn, and why they must take a responsibility in the amount of carbon that they burn. The environment is definitely changing. As you will ask me in your later questions, it is impacting us in aviation. So for me, sustainability, number one, is about education. I think the people of ASEAN need to understand what sustainability is. I think many people are very confused. When we recently talked about carbon taxes, people thought we're just increasing airfares. And so I think all companies here have to play a part in educating the people of Thailand, the people of ASEAN, and that's why this conference is very good. But to really answer your question directly, sustainability is about protecting the earth. It's about making sure at AirAsia it's not just about fuel and climate. It's also about protecting the natural resources. We bring in a lot of tourists into destinations, and tourists can also destroy the beauty of the environment. You bring in 1 million tourists into a beautiful island, that could destroy that beautiful island. So for us, it's not just about climate change, it's also about looking after, so sustainability for us is also looking about the environment and making sure we educate the public to look after the very beautiful earth that we have.
I totally agree about educating the public, and that is the main purpose of Sustainability Expo, which we have been holding for 5 years, right? This is exactly what we're here for. Now, for Asia, you would say sustainability's meaning is educating public and also protecting the earth. Now comes to the next issue, and many people are very interested in this issue. There are multiple regulations aiming to reduce environmental and to some extent social impacts on real estate, hospitality, and aviation. How are you coping with them, and which standard or policy is the most difficult to comply?
Give to
Is
you
that going to
first,
be a
Sunny?
long answer?
You want to go first? You be
Tony,
confident.
please. Would you first?
Me first?
Yes, please.
You give me the tough part. Wow, where do I start? It's very important that we have these regulations, but it's also very important we have the right regulations. I am very concerned that governments are rushing in, sometimes advised by consultants from the West who don't understand our part of the world. I see so many regulations coming in that don't make sense. If you allow me, sustainable aviation fuel, I think that's crazy. Many governments are mandating sustainable aviation fuel, and I think that will have a major impact to people's lives. So let me explain that. Sustainable aviation fuel, the basic stock is cooking oil. If you took all the cooking oil in the world, you could probably only fill up 4% of airlines' fuel needs. The cost of sustainable aviation fuel is, in some cases, 20 or 30 times more than jet fuel. And so we're not really going to make a big difference in protecting the environment. And so some countries, Singapore has already talked about mandating it. I know many people in Singapore in the tourism industry are very concerned. Other countries are also mandating it. So while we know that we have to get to a net zero policy. And in AirAsia, what we're working on is technology. Obviously, Airbus and our engine suppliers are working on better technology. In terms of how we fly, regulations in the sky. You know, I keep telling governments, rather than talk about sustainable aviation fuel, let's have an efficient air traffic system. We all spend hours flying around, waiting to land in various airports, and we're burning a lot of fuel. We take a long time to take off, you know, and so I would rather see governments focusing on making the skies efficient than mandating sustainable aviation fuel, which makes no sense. And even on sustainable aviation fuel, you know, palm oil is decided that that's not sustainable because the West don't like palm oil. A lot of these, and palm oil is, we cut our trees, we cut our forests to make palm oil. It's there. Countries like France and America cut their forests and built many industries around it. So why penalize the palm oil industry? But not to digress so much, I'm concerned about regulations. I'm concerned there's not enough dialogue with the industry. The people are rushing in. It's a very populist thing to say we're sustainable without thinking about how it affects the economy, how it affects the common man. Now in AirAsia, we think a better way is carbon credits. So we are going to introduce about 10 baht for every 1 hour of flying. Now, so that people know that because they flew 3 hours, they have to pay 30 baht. That 30 baht will go into projects that will soak up carbon, will reduce carbon in the atmosphere, whether it's reforestation, whether it's putting in more wildlife back into the environment to reduce the carbon that we emit. We think that's a much better way of reducing carbon emissions than SAF. So I focus on SAF because that's impacting our industry. I think it makes no difference. I think it's going to penalize the consumer, and it doesn't really have a major impact. So I worry about regulations. I worry that we're copying a lot of the West. I worry that we use consultants from the West to kind of tell us what to do, and we're not really examining whether these policies make a real difference. So at AirAsia, we're being very outspoken to say, please look at these regulations. Please make sure. And for us, when we collect carbon credits, there are no projects in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN, that are approved by CORSIA or ICAO. So really, governments need to really focus on what's going to make a difference and don't rush in on regulations that in effect, in the long run, will not impact carbon reduction and penalize the consumer and cost many jobs.
So we can say that some of the difficult policy that AirAsia might be facing is the sustainable aviation fuel, as well as not enough dialogue, and governments, people are rushing into sustainability. And I really like your interesting idea of the carbon credit issue, which will collect 10 baht for every 1 hour of flying. That's very nice.
The important thing is when we collect that money, we have to have projects in ASEAN to invest in. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, that's true. So what is important is that we have to have regulations, of course, but also the right regulation. What about you, Kun Panot? Any policies that you seem to be facing and coping?
I resonate with what you mentioned, and we did talk a little bit before the panel here that we're not going to make this question controversial, but it is true on the physical real estate, like Fraser's as well, that exactly as you said, that the standard of regulatory is a good playing field for us to shape ourselves to all the goals of all what we're looking for to the better world. But very much so of how sustainable is the organization as well that drive to those objectives and the support that will get us there. I think the lens over the most difficult part is something in my view of what the status of this room is talking about, the supply chain network. And it's part of our achievement in sustainability goals. It's not the regulatory, it's a collaboration. It's the panel, as you said, we have to talk more. We have to make it more effective to the execution. And to me, the largest part of our goals is the science-based target that we set out to do. We know exactly what to do with the track 1, track 2, but the track 3 to connect to our supply chain is the most challenging part. And to those, sometimes the regulatory push itself to the very ambitious outcome, but it doesn't allow all of us as a business operation to transition ourselves together with our peers and get there together without us or even a bigger organization. We take ourselves as a set of example already in everything that we do. We try to lead ourselves in innovation and driving set of example. But to those things, we have to understand the impact of our shareholder. We have to understand the sustainability of our people. And I think both sector through aviation and to real estate, we all hit into energy crisis as well, in a different way, but in the same issue of regulatory and the journey to get there. And if the government don't plan and build enough fundamental, for me, in our real estate and hospitality, energy costs to certain market has, from pre-COVID, has gone up almost 30%. And as average, we have gone up already 20%. Not to think about if we go to 100% renewable, how much it will cost it more and how much is sustainable to the supply chain of our end customer. So those are the things that we have to be cognizant over. But we are hopeful as we are more collaborative, more in an open context of discussion. That's my context.
I mean, I think if I can just add, if you put in regulations such as sustainable aviation fuel, that could increase the ticket fare if all of it was sustainable by 30 times. That would make AirAsia not sustainable. And this is the danger of policies when we don't really look at the whole ecosystem. People are rushing in without thinking properly. The second thing I just want to add on regulations is standardization. For an airline like AirAsia, every country has its different regulations, and it's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare. Singapore will have one set of regulations, Indonesia will have one, Thailand will have. So, look, I'm a big believer in ASEAN, right? As many in this room are. And really, I hope ASEAN gets its act together and really creates one set of regulations. Sustainability, I've been pushing for an ASEAN common market many times. AirAsia is definitely a leader in ASEAN. We have created ASEAN travel. When I came from Kuala Lumpur yesterday, more than half the plane were Thais. And Thais never really used to come to Malaysia. Malaysians always have come to Thailand, right? And so we have created mobility and movement of people of ASEAN. And so, but ASEAN is still really at its baby steps. But in sustainability, they should lead the way. This is a chance for ASEAN to do something that the 10 countries should get together and really create one sustainable policy. Because more and more companies, such as Chang, ourselves, Bangkok Bank, CP, etc., are looking at ASEAN as a market. And so we need standard regulations. And so while you talk about regulations, I'm thinking, that you're just thinking about the Thai regulations, but we have 10 regulations in ASEAN. And that doesn't count China and India and Japan and Korea. So I really ask the governments of ASEAN, and I'm going to Laos on Tuesday. There's an ASEAN leaders meeting. And my number one agenda is prime ministers, presidents, leaders, please get your acts together and have one policy, because it's really hard for all of us to follow all these regulations, and we have become multinational companies. So my message is, one, make sure the regulations make a difference. We have to do something about the environment. It's fantastic that this conference is going on, because the climate is definitely changing. It's definitely changing, and we all have to do something. But make sure the regulations make a difference. Make sure those regulations don't put the supply chain, AirAsia, etc. out of business and kill the business, and try and standardize the regulations, right? To have 10 regulations in ASEAN is madness. So that's my appeal, and hopefully those messages will be heard.
Regulations need to make a difference. And just like Kun Panat said, we need to set a standard. So what is the most challenging part is that the supply chain network, and we need to collaborate and make it effective. So I could say that for the hospitality businesses is all while enhancing guest customers' experiences. Of course, we support the sustainability policies, but without sacrificing on profitability as well. Right? Now comes to the third question. Beyond regulations, do you see big shifts in your industry resulting from climate change and sustainable development movement? How are you dealing with these new risks and opportunities? Perhaps Kun Panot first?
Thank you. So it resonates to what we're talking here, that the future of our customers are looking for sustainability. And through the space of hospitality, we operate in 4 continents, in 20 countries, in 130 cities. We do face what we're just talking about with regulatory, but we do inspire by the people who want to be in our space and looking for that sustainability. The challenge, but also become the opportunity, is how to, COVID has proved how we all can be more efficient, how we all will have to look up to each other, not only just how we understand customer, but how we able to deliver the value beyond expectation. And that has been the journey that we able to pivot ourselves, and we have talking about as well, as a challenge as we all been faced to, even in aviation sector, but hospitality sector as well. It's a journey of what we believe the future of traveling and the future of being away from home is still a nature of human. It's still the part of what we believe the solution that we have to provide have to be more customized, more efficient, and in turn is the acceptance of understanding the market that become the inspiration of the way we drive the key objective of the solution that we created. So in one is technology, the digitization, the part of what we work together because of the crisis, not only in energy crisis that happened, in cost of human capital, how we need to recalibrate and value human capital differently for the future of sustainability. And that technology and digitization become a big part of the adaptation. They said COVID is the best CTO of any company in that sense. And through those goals, we then set out different initiatives as well over how we turn ourselves into renewable, turn ourselves into digital, and allow us to be more connected and filtering through the network supply chain as well in everything that we do. We see ourselves looking forward to a good recovery of hospitality business. Just to say, like Thailand, even though there's less traveler, but actually we have somehow filter a more quality traveler as well, of a better spender. We have improved our room rates tremendously to the recovery of COVID. And even on, we built both luxury traveling and also service apartment and mass traveling as well that come into Thailand. In different places, as Tony, you mentioned, our hospitality also very different to facing of regulation and customer in different continent, in different country as well. So it's the customization again that is the key.
So we are aiming a quality of traveling, a quality of hospitality, and you see it as a challenge, but also an opportunity as well, which is a very good idea. Yeah. What about you, Kutoni?
So what was the question again?
Okay. The question was, beyond regulations, do you see big shifts in your industry resulting from the climate change and sustainable development movement? How are you dealing with these new risks and opportunities?
Okay. Look, I mean, the first thing I want to be very clear is that we have a big job to educate our people. You know, when I talk about carbon credits in Malaysia, I get attacked on the website because people think that I'm trying to charge more. Where is the money going, etc. So I want to be very clear, and this conference is great. These things all help. But to the common man, to the man on the street, what does sustainability really mean? And how does it affect his rice bowl? So I think we have a big job to make sure that everyone understands that the world is changing, right? We got to make a better place for Mudeng, right?
By the way, we have Mudeng here.
I know.
You have to visit our Mudeng.
I couldn't come to Thailand without mentioning Mudeng, right?
Yes. But you know we have a photo booth, right?
Mudeng is going to
You will
fly
have
on
to go.
AirAsia.
All right.
Tasapon is making a special seat for Mudeng, and he can fly anywhere he wants to from now on. But that's the reality.
Yeah.
We got to create a better place for Mudeng and all our future generations. But the public don't know about that yet. And that is I keep telling governments also, you can put in all these regulations, but does the 700 million people of ASEAN know why we're putting in these regulations and why the environment is changing? This is number one when you say, you know, what are the impacts of sustainability? That right now we see it. Weather is changing. It is, you know, we have huge shifts in weather patterns which affect our on-time performance, you know, massive number of typhoons, heat waves, etc. And tourism is affected. You know, Cambodia, where I was the other day, the temperature was almost 50 degrees. It was like going to the Gulf. So the environment is changing. But I think the most important thing is that governments are forgetting and companies are forgetting, and that's why I applaud this conference, is we have to educate the public. That's number one. And I, you know, yes, certain people will say, I am prepared to pay more for a sustainable tourism project or a sustainable hotel. But in AirAsia's case, we have a long way to go to educate people that why we are charging carbon credits and why it's important. So I don't see it as an opportunity or or a negative. I see it as a necessity. We have to do it. Aviation has to do it. The farming industry has to do it. Hospitality has to do it, because the world is in danger. There's no two ways about it. But we have to spend a lot of time on education. And while we all talk about regulation, we must make sure the people of Thailand and ASEAN understand why this regulation is coming and why they need to do it. I mean, a simple one is air condition. You know, I mean, I wore a jacket today because I know they're very formal, well-dressed company. At AirAsia, we don't dress up very much, right? Tasapon, I've never seen him wear a tie before in his life, and he actually took it off. But actually, when you wear a lot of clothes, you end up turning on the air condition more, right? And is that sustainable? When really in Asia, we grew up with t-shirts. And so there are very simple things that we can do to stop wasting resources. We have to look at an energy policy. You know, nuclear has to be looked at. Renewables has to be looked at in greater extent. And so, you know, my number one ask is make sure the people of ASEAN understand that every and each one of us has to make a difference if we want to save the earth. And, you know, Donald Trump can say whatever he wants to, weather is changing. We are getting a hotter climate. But two, rather than jump into regulations, there are many simple things that we can be doing. And if we educate the public, then I really believe the public will do its best to bring down carbon emissions. So sustainability for me right now, how is it impacting? Weather is changing. Places are getting hotter, more typhoons, more adverse conditions, and that's affecting AirAsia a lot. So I see the world changing, and so we have to take it seriously. And it's not just about fuel, it's about using our tires longer, it's about using our engines longer. It's using resources much more. And two is make sure regulations make a difference. Definitely there's an opportunity as we educate the public, and why I'm a little bit different, I'm saying it doesn't impact AirAsia yet because people don't know why they have to pay carbon credits. So it's not that, oh, I'm going to fly AirAsia because they care about the environment more. We have a long way to go. And so I think governments have to focus on educating the public first, and then that forces companies to do more. And I really worry about tokenism. Just saying you have 1% of sustainable aviation fuel is making no difference, absolutely no difference. If air traffic control did a better job, it would save much more than 1%. You know, if we all use the air condition less, it will save much more than 1% sustainable aviation fuel. So I feel we're losing the message, but the number one message is to make sure that every citizen of ASEAN understands why they have to conserve the earth.
Right. So what you suggest is that our big job is to educate people, educate public. We need them to know why we have regulations and why is that everyone needs to take action. And it is the public that will make a big impact. So thank you so much for sharing the interesting perspective.
Okay, this is a very serious discussion. You have lots of notes there. I've never seen so many notes before.
I'm doing my homework.
Can I have a look?
Sure. Please show it to everyone.
This is a great example of leading business, taking action and responsibility. But can we just make it a little bit? Who wants a free ticket?
Who wants a free ticket?
Who wants a free ticket? Anyone who comes up here on stage, no, you're too rich. You can buy AirAsia. Panapat, you don't need a free ticket. Anyone who has something red, come on stage.
How many people?
The first one who comes on stage with something red gets a free ticket.
The first one, come on the stage right away. Come on, we got right here one person. ขอเสียงปรบมือหน่อยนะคะ You got a free ticket.
Okay.
From คุณโทนี่
Swadika, what's your name?
My name is Sanjira Pontong. You can call me B.
I love Thailand. Everything is, your name is so long. Ding dang ding dong ding dong. Call me B. Say your name again.
Sanjira Pontong.
Chanchira,
Pontong is my
but
last
call me B.
It's
How does Chanchira become B? Please explain.
Thai people always have the
I know.
nickname.
My CFO, somewhere there, he's the longest name in the world, but they say call me A. All right?
He's probably my brother.
Okay, he's your brother? All right, B. Where do you want to fly? But hold on. You have to fly where AirAsia flies. I suggest Konkan.
Thank you.
No. You can fly anywhere. Where do you want to fly? Tasapon is paying anyway.
All right.
Korea, Japan, Australia, Phuket,
Maybe Australia.
Australia?
Because we
Okay.
have Fraser property there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Fraser can sponsor your hotel. Where in Australia? Melbourne, Sydney?
Sydney.
Sydney? Okay, you can go to Sydney. Do you have a husband? One or two husbands? One? You have a husband?
Not yet.
Not yet? You want to pick a husband, Tanapa? No, you
Two
can have-
tickets.
2 tickets can. No problem.
Thank you.
Who do you want to take? Anyone from here?
Yes.
Yes? Choose someone from this room. Don't be shy.
Yes, I need time to
You need time.
decide.
No. Life is about making decisions now. No time to decide. AirAsia is about making decisions now. We're not Chang. They take a long time. One Bangkok took a long time. Okay? Choose quick.
I think he knows.
Don't worry. You can have 2 tickets. Speak to that man there, chairman and CEO. They'll give you 2 tickets. And on behalf of Fraser, they'll give you a hotel. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. แล้วก็ขอเสียงปรบมือด้วยนะคะ Another big round of applause to คุณ
Thanks
ป
for
นด and
breaking
คุณ
the
โจ
ice.
นี่ Thank you. Please have a photo together. เดี๋ยวเรียนเชิญนะคะ ช่างภาพสามารถทำการบันทึกภาพได้เลยนะคะ Let's have a photo together. Kindly stand right at the middle of the stage. And it's obviously that climate change and the increasing of rules and regulations are affecting every businesses. So private sectors need to play a key role in accelerating global decarbonize and start adapting to aim to minimize the climate. Okay, let's hold on a few more seconds. We're moving out the sofa. Okay, could you please look at the camera once again? Wonderful. Thank you. ถ่ายภาพร่วมกันนะคะ เรียนเชิญคุณถาปนาค่ะ We'll have a few more seconds for this photo session. เรียนเชิญถ่ายภาพนะคะ What I was going to say is that this is such a great example of leading businesses taking action and responsibility in climate change. We need to involve in combinations of investments, innovation, and market-driven solution, responsible practices, and collaboration with other stakeholders as well. So thank you once again. ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you very much.